Now, something about my subject, William Blake, whom I've been deeply interested in for 40 years as well. Although there are few people we can definitively say are geniuses, Blake is surely one. He was a painter, an engraver, an illustrator, a poet, a political radical, and a mystic. As he found conventional religions lacking, he invented his own. And he unabashedly proclaimed his visions, stating in one of his wonderful proverbs, "What is now proved was once only imagined." I love Blake because he is so entirely alive, such a consummate human being, replete with great strengths and certain weaknesses. But above all, I admire his perseverance, because he never ceased doing his art. He never allowed his creative vision to be stifled, and that is inspiring to all people in any age. The year is 1779. In the preceding scene, Blake has been swept up in the terrible Gordon riots, actual events, where a march to protest Catholic influence in Parliament turned into a 3-day pitched battle where dozens were killed, hundreds of buildings burnt, Newgate Prison broken open, and troops finally restored order by massacring the lead rioters with cannon fire. Improvement makes straight roads, but the crooked roads without improvement are the roads of genius. Will lay abed, the smoke of smoldering buildings permeating his room, even with the window sash drawn down. Much of Albion's beloved city was aflame. It was as though the end of time were drawing nigh, all prophecies of Armageddon screaming to fruition. God abdicating any hope of man's salvation. Civilization dashed on bitter rocks of prejudice, ignorance, and fear. Will lost something of his abiding faith in human progress, as he had already lost something of his ideal of human love. Soldiers ruled the streets, where artists and troubadours ought to have been welcome. The basest of men driven by the basest of motives, mere physical control, protection of property, preservation of a corrupt status quo, held sway. Poets hunkered down in faintly lit taverns, speaking in low, precarious tones. Painters could not see the azure sky for the dust of trampling feet and the smoky ash of wasted opportunity. Prophets, as always, were relegated to the place of fools, sneered at as dreamers, patronized as insipid wastrels unable to prosper in a decidedly material universe. Vision grew clouded. Strong thought unraveled into incoherence. A man might find his way only alone, only in part, only until he was snatched up by terrible forces more powerful than his worst imaginings, vilified even by those he most cared for, driven to ignominy, spent and beaten at the last. It was 3 p.m. Wondering if the academy had been attacked, if the mobs had gone that far, Will put his things together and set out to see for himself. 15 minutes later, he arrived at Somerset House, to find it standing safe and proud, an island of civil reassurance in a sea of social turmoil. Hearing footfalls behind him, Will turned to see none other than Sir Joshua Reynolds appraising the sketch. Sir Joshua, president of the Academy, was a man of great stature on the highest English cultural and social circles, and a prominent portrait and landscape painter in his own right. Reynolds was losing his sense of paternal equanimity. I dare say that although I value the training I receive and surely appreciate the skill of those who teach me, there is a voice far stronger than any in these rooms that may guide and inspire me. Oh, come. Are we some Moses now, some Isaiah sprawled beneath his fresco? Do you sport with me, sir? Heavens, no, I wish to convince you of your folly is all. If the fool would persist in his folly, he would become wise. What? Another aphorism? Fiddlesticks. You are a character, Blake, though one lacking humility and direction. I do hope that your time here shall be profitable. It will require some adjustment on your part. You may heed my words, or you may not. That remains your decision. Best to make a wise one, eh? Good day to you. So saying, Reynolds nodded slightly and removed himself from the studio. With the old master's deliberate departure, Will felt both anxious and liberated at the same time. He knew 2 things. He knew that for the sake of his professional well-being, he ought not to disagree with Reynolds. He also knew that for the sake of his very soul, he absolutely must.